Beautiful. Hey, beautiful people. We are here. This is the God's Podcast. I am your brother O. Today we have Tyree, we got Muhammad, we got Tiffany, and we got a special guest, Lighthouse. Today we have a very interesting question. It's a very interesting topic. I think we can jump right into it. Is being a stepdad a bad deal? A lot of us, a lot of women are single mothers, and they're not in relationships, but they also want a companion. But again, they come along with a child. So is it a good idea to be a stepdad for these children, or should you pass up on single mothers? First up, let's start off with you, Muhammad. What you think? Oh, you know what?
Um,
I guess it's here. Let's make our guest go first.
yeah.
What you think, Lighthouse? How you feeling?
Um, I think everybody deserves love, right? And I've been in a situation where I was dating a young lady, and she had a daughter. And at first, I was apprehensive about it. I didn't want to do it. It was always like my thing. Like I want to just be with a woman who don't have kids. But I really like Shorty, and I ended up just dating her, and like it was a very rewarding and fulfilling relationship because I actually got to kind of raise the child. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have no biological kids of my own, so it was very cool to just like kind of see her develop and like kind of pour into her and help her in certain ways where her dad probably wasn't as strong in certain places. He wasn't like absent, but he just wasn't as present, you know what I mean? So I was the father figure for her, and it wasn't bad, you know what I'm saying? From like going from a person or a place of saying like I don't want to do it to actually living it. And we was in a relationship for like 6 years. So, it wasn't crazy. So I think it is circumstantial. Like, it's the circumstances, like her child's father wasn't like a problematic person, because I think that's the thing. Like you don't want to have to get into baby father drama or stuff like that. So you just want to avoid it because it's like it's not really a problem. But then if that person is still into the woman and wants to be with her and then do spiteful things to kind of weaponize the dynamic with the child, it just becomes a problem. And I think that's what I was looking to avoid, but it wasn't like that. So my experience was positive.
Real quick, how old was the child when you first got with her?
She was about like 7 or 8, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
yeah,
okay. All
7,
right,
yeah, 8, yeah.
cool,
Mhm.
cool. Tiff, what do you think?
So, I think it depends on the people at the end of the day. I come from a blended family. I never knew my father, but my mother was married to him. And my father, my dad, my daddy is not my blood. So, my mom had two girls. I have an older sister. He had two boys, and then they had a boy and a girl together, literally the Brady Bunch. And so, with that foundation and seeing how blended families work, um, I always thought it was a beautiful thing. I also had my daughter before I got married. She was a little over a year when I got married, and um, and he didn't have any kids at that time, and it worked well. To this day, she calls him dad, even though we've been divorced for like 7 years. Um, I think that the I think it can be a beautiful thing with the right people. But I've also seen it go left and really, really bad. And unfortunately, we hear and we see the bad stories more than we see the good ones. You know what I mean? So the stigma around, a single mother looking for somebody like a dad for their kids. They're not looking for love. They're looking for somebody to come in and help pay the bills and raise kids, looking more so than looking for companionship. Um or the other way around, where maybe that person's parenting isn't really good and their kids are a reflection of that, and so you're coming into a very chaotic environment on both sides. um But all in all, I have faith and hope, that a blended relationship and a blended family can be something positive.
Tyree.
I believe we did this topic before, so like it could be short and sweet for me. I always say you date the woman, not the child. You can't be too attached. Like you can, and like my brother said before, like I worked with children, so to me, I date a girl with a child now. So when I do it, to me, it's just like working with a child. Like it's like youth development. Like to me, it's like I watch them person grow. But it's not something where I understand this is not my child. So it's like I don't look at it like you don't get too attached to that as far as because you could leave this person, you and this person could break up. So you give. Yeah, if you're gonna give or do something like that, you gotta do it from the heart, bro. Because you're not getting nothing out of it. It's literally you doing it from your heart. So you have to understand that part. Like if you want to talk about for the man in that situation, there's technically no benefit. No, you're doing something extra off of the strength of you care about this woman. So no, for the woman, it's up for her to facilitate that relationship. You have to make sure the child respects the man and the man doesn't hurt the child. So it's up to that woman to maintain that balance if that's the case, or and vice versa if the man is the one with the child. Um, that's pretty much it. You said it's like a bad deal. I guess if you want to say for the man, it could be because it's everything that comes with dealing with a woman on top of with the child. But that depends on how much you weigh that. Like, is that some men don't mind children? You know what I mean? So, uh, it, objectively, it could be weighted as a bad deal. But if you're doing it from the heart, you got to understand that you just got to do it from the heart, bro. You ain't getting nothing out.
Are you doing it from the heart, knowing it's a bad deal?
You could be. You could be like, yo, I'm doing this because I care about this person, but this person could leave me and then I don't have any attachment to this child. So essentially, it's an investment you don't benefit from. So you could look at it like that. But if you look at it like that, then, I mean, that's the reality of it. So, I mean, you just have to understand that and accept that that's what you're doing. Like you're doing something that is not going to get no reward in the end. You just accept that.
Right.
Like I'm not, you just have to understand that. Like if you can deal with that, then whatever.
Right. Mohammed.
So for me, it's simple. I think it's a bad deal. I think it's one of the worst things a man can do, especially a man that's a eligible bachelor, a man that's desired, a man that worked hard to accomplish what he needs to accomplish in life. I think that's a terrible deal. Never play a man's save game. Tyree, you mentioned the heart. The heart is emotion.
I understand. I agree with that. That's why I said when you look objectively, if you're looking objectively, no. Feelings, if you look, I understand that. If you like also optimization, it's more burden. That's if you're looking at it like that. I can't contend with that.
So the heart is something that we associate with emotion, not logic and ration. So
I agree with that. That is feeling. It's not logical. I just told you. You cannot get, when I say optimization, that's part of logic. When you're optimizing something, that's what it is. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, then no, it's not optimal. I've always said that.
So a man can't afford to date emotionally. That's how women date. Men have to be logical and rational when they make decisions. It has to be, you have to evaluate it and look at risk cost analysis, right? It's thankless, responsibility without authority. As a man, you can't expect to get into a relationship with a woman with a child and things progresses. You're not going to be on the hook financially. You can't just take care of the woman and financially provide for that woman and not take care and provide for that child. The problem is a lot of men get attached to children. Of course, anything that you put time and effort into, you're going to get attached. What happens if you break up after, and just like the brother Lighthouse, the child was 6 and the brother said he was with the woman for 6 years, right, bro?
Yeah.
So it's impossible not to develop some type of bond, right? So imagine now the woman leaves you, y'all break up. You have no rights to that fucking kid. She could say, fuck you. Look at how biological moms treat biological. Well, look at how moms treat biological dads. Sometimes biological dads feel like stepdads. So imagine a fucking stepkid that you poured your time and energy to, where that kid comes home crying, is getting bullied. You might have to invest in that child, teach that child certain things, help them with their homework. Right? It's just a thankless job. I was watching this video where this man said he did everything. He even bought his stepdaughter her first car. The first thing she did was, I want to meet my real father. He wasn't even involved. Like, that shit is crazy, yo. You know, and I saw something today, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old beautiful daughter, and I saw something today, and it said the most hurtful thing in the world, and it made me almost. I was at work, and that shit made me almost shed a tear, man. Honestly, it said the most hurtful thing in the world for a man, second to losing a child, is realizing when you don't have no fucking money, no one gives a fuck about you as a man. And I had to think about that shit. Men, we don't get any type of. No one cares really about us. It's always what can we get out of dad. Dad is the bad guy because he has to be the disciplinarian. So I can only imagine if real fathers go through that shit. Imagine as a stepfather. Also, too, being falsely accused of abuse. How do you know that if you're trying to discipline the kid, right, with merit, and you put everything into this kid, you will give your life for this kid. What about corporal punishment? If the mom is not there and the kid is disrespecting you, that's not your blood. How are you going to handle that when that kid needs to be disciplined? And then if you do handle it, rightfully so, in an ethical way, who's to say the kid won't lie and say you touched them or sexually assaulted them?
I'll say this. When it came to disciplining the young lady or the daughter, I would whenever she did something wrong, she would listen. You know, she was a good kid, but you know, kids do kid things. And like I would just call her mother and say, listen, she did this. I talked to her about it. And she said, all right, I'll handle it when I get home. And I let her do that. You know what I'm saying? And like I didn't take it personal. It was just like a kid being a kid. Like one time I made her eat some food that she didn't want to eat. So she like tossed it out the window, right? I live on the 15th floor. It landed on the lady downstairs air conditioner. So the next day, the lady was like, she sent the maintenance people up, and they was like, somebody said you dropped something on the AC, and I was like, what are you talking about? So he showed me a picture, and it was all the pasta and the olive sauce all in this lady's AC. So I was tight. I called her mother at work. I was like, yo, when you get home, you gotta talk to her, because I just couldn't do, you know, I wasn't gonna hit her or nothing. Like I would just talk to her and like kind of level with her and kind of like reach her intellectual ability, and just like, and she kind of would get it, and she appreciated the fact that like I didn't come on like her mom's. Her moms would just come with the belt. I just would talk to her and just say, listen, you know, do you think that was a good idea? Like, if you didn't want to eat it, you could have just told me, and then I would have said, just throw it in the garbage. You know what I mean? Or we'll save it for later. And then because I was patient with her, she was cool. Now, this is like, not to say everyone's kids is going to be like that. I was fortunate to have, you know, a girlfriend who, you know, gave her daughter love and stuff. And she was like a smart kid. So she was just, you know, it was just easy to go along. But you're right. Like, it is a risk of like, what if you say something and then the child is mad at you and says, oh, you touched them and stuff like that. And then, you know, the mother going to just believe they child, you know? So, but fortunately,
and what if the father is involved too? The daughter calls the father, yo, this man touched me. Now you want some shit. Because I have a daughter, and you know, and my ex-wife, I was married, she's not dating anybody, but I can only imagine what I would do. You know what I'm saying? And you know, too, Lighthouse, the sad thing is that you probably did everything that a biological father would do, but yet you have to have a go-between to get to that child that you do so much for. Right? Think about that. Like as a father, as me as a biological father, you probably do the same amount of, well, you probably do the same type of things that I do for my daughter. Because I'm sure that if you were in that child's life, if that daughter needed anything, you're a good guy. You would extend, right, every type of resource. So now by you doing that, by you treating her like a biological child, because you love her like that, why should you have to go between another person to get to that child? I think that's very unfortunate and it's unfair.
Well, I had to go through, because this was like a severe thing that she did. Like, it was like she was trying to get over. So usually I could just talk to her and like take her, you know, her phone away from her, put her on timeout. I was doing that. I was disciplining her that way. But this one was extreme. Like, you threw the food out the window, anything could happen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you know. But yeah.
So now, if that was your biological daughter, how would you have handled that? Would you have
been the same way? Like, yo, your daughter wilding. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? I would have just. I'm kind of laid back like that. I would have just spoke to her and just been like, you know, this is crazy. You know, I don't think I'm tall, you know, so hitting on a little kid is not going to really.
yeah.
I mean, it's going to be crazy. So I think, you know, I would be a gentle parent, you know, and like having this experience gave me like a kind of context for when I do have my own children, how I would handle it. You know what I'm saying? Like kids could be assholes sometimes, and you just got to be patient and just, you know, go with the flow. You know what I mean?
No, you're absolutely right.
I would say this, right? There's two things I dread to hear. I would dread to hear. One is, yo, don't talk to my child like that. Right. And then two is from the child, you're not my real father anyway. Right. For me to put in so much work with a child as if it is my own. And then when something comes up, and I'm taking care of this child as my own, and then something comes up where I have to discipline the child and I may talk to them sternly or something like that, then the mother could turn around and tell me, don't talk to my child like that. All you do is put back in perspective that this isn't a good situation for me, right? Like this is a bad deal. And then we know if we put in work with children, and children, when they get upset, especially in their teen years, if I'm in a relationship with a woman and I put in a lot of work with her over the years and her child, and I've taken care of that child, and the child gets upset with me, and children can be very vindictive and spiteful on purpose. They'll tell you this on purpose. You're not my real dad, just to hurt your feelings, right? But that's a real thing. You're not her real dad, and they can say, or his real dad. They can say that to you at any point in time, and that sets you back to the reality of this is not my. I can't do what I would do with my child to this child, right? So if I am taking care of this child as if it's my child, but I cannot do the things that I would do with this child that I would do with my child, then what's the benefit of it to me? You know what I mean? When the reality is it's not my child. You know what I mean? You chose me to be a father figure, but I'm not the father. You know what I mean? And I think that's a hurtful thing for a hurtful position for a man to be in, because at any given time, you know, the rug could be snatched up from under you, right? So even if you do it with your heart and things like that, it's still hurtful to know you put in an investment into something. When we invest into stocks or IRAs or whatever it is, we expect a return. And if that's how you return the appreciation and love to me, I don't want to invest in that stock. And I think investing in children, especially nowadays, that's not your child, it's a bad deal. You know, and I know there are some children, and there's always exceptions to the rule, right? There's some children. I remember I was dealing with this one girl. I liked her too, right? She was fine. So I'm dealing with her, and she brought her son one time. She asked me, can I bring my son or whatever? I said, yeah, sure. And I'm playing with the son or whatever, but the son was doing like some bad stuff and kept running off or whatever. I felt, even inside of me, I felt like tense to even do anything with the child. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not, I had to be so careful because it's not my child. If it was my child, I'd just snatch him, bring him back. But I got to be like, oh no, don't do that. Cutting him off. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. I don't want to have to think so much when it's not my child. So me personally, I wouldn't deal with a woman who has a child unless and then you taking on another personality. The father is there. And then another woman I dealt with, I asked her, I'll keep this one real short. I said, yo, if your son act up and we're together, can I bust his ass? She said, Omar, are you serious? I said, I need to know, can I bust his ass? She was like, no. I said, then I don't want to deal, because let him go stay with his father if me and you are serious. Because if I can't bust his ass, and you know his father don't want me to bust his ass, he can't live here, because I'm going to be taking care of him. He eating my food. He living in my house. He asking me for stuff whenever he wants, but I can't bust his ass when he does something disrespectful. Absolutely not. It's a bad deal.
Yeah. Also, too, looking at it from the romantic place with the mom, just is it a good romantic decision to date a woman with a kid when she couldn't even stick it out to make it work with the man she chose to lay down and have kids with? And we all know that, and this is a fact. Let's bring some stats in. Little girls that are raised in homes with men that are not their biological dad tend to hit puberty earlier. I just found this out. This is one fact. Any little girl that's raised in a home that's not with her, you can look this up. That's not with her biological dad hits puberty at an early age. That's one. Number two is kids are most abused when they're not in the home of their biological dad. That is another fact. Kids do better. They're more productive, less likely to display degenerate behavior when they're in two-parent households with their fathers. So if it's either you picked a father that was worth nothing, and you made him a father, even though you knew that he wasn't deserving of that title, so that shows that you have bad decision-making skills. But what if it wasn't a situation where he was a bad father or displayed future deadbeat personality traits? That means that you put your happiness before ensuring that you raise your child or children in a home with two parents. So I could never take a woman seriously knowing that she put her happiness before the duty and responsibility of keeping a nuclear family together for the betterment of the child. So that means that you're selfish or you don't make good decisions. So I just can't do it. Even from, unless the only way I can see why men would do it, and I still wouldn't do it, is if the father was deceased. The biological father passed away. Even if the father passed away, I still wouldn't do it, right? Because I only want to raise my blood and my legacy. That's a fact. But yeah, I just don't think it's good for the man as far as having the extra responsibility for a kid or picking a woman that would pick a man who's a deadbeat or a piece of shit, or a woman that couldn't, like, what loyalty would you have to me when you couldn't even have the loyalty to stick with the man who you actually created another human being with? It's just, to me, I just don't understand it. And that's just my personal beliefs.
Tiff, I see you. What's up?
Yeah. So a couple things. Y'all said a lot. So I really think it depends on the age of the kids. That's major. And some people say the younger age is harder, right? Because it's harder for mom to separate her role. You know what I mean? Because, kids under the age of, let's say, 12 need mom. They need somebody to cook for them, somebody to take them places and be there after school. And, they've got all the things going on the weekends and birthday parties. So it's hard to have a relationship when there are younger kids involved, especially if the mom is the main caregiver. I've also heard it's a little difficult with kids being older because they're set in their ways. They already know what it is, you know what I mean? And they could be mouthy possibly. And so that's a difficult situation because it also depends on like how long the mom was single for. If the kid is like 16 and mom has been single since they were 8 and now a guy is coming into the picture, there might be some headbutting, some, it's my house type thing. And all these different scenarios is nothing that I've particularly dealt with personally, but I have seen it and I've heard about it, where it just really depends on the dynamics in that particular situation. So I have a couple more things to say, but that is a question I do want to pose to you guys as to age preference. Like, what do you guys think men prefer when dating women? Also, are we only talking about being stepdads in this conversation? Because I got boundaries about being a stepmom. Like, I agree with y'all to like a certain extent, you know what I mean? Because I have dated guys with children of all different ages. And I had to learn my lesson because I got attached the very first time out the gate. And like, even the kid was like, "Can I call you mom?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even know how to answer that." I'm like, "You're gonna have to talk to your mom and your dad about that because I don't know."
How soon into the relationship did they ask you that?
I think it was like 4 months.
Damn.
Pretty early, yeah.
That's early.
And I will have to say that mom, her and I had a great relationship. There was actually 2 moms involved in this one relationship. He was married and had 2, and then had a girlfriend with like a 1-year-old that he broke up with, that he left. and made her a single mom. So we were having family barbecues and going, like, I'm going to the kids' games and we're bringing like sliced apples and oranges together. So it was a really good family dynamic where the women were very mature, very emotionally intelligent. They trusted me. I ended up being on like the kids' daycare pickup list type thing.
Wow.
Yes, yes. And I'm a big person, like kids are off limits. They did not ask to be here. We do not, like I love them as I love my own, type of thing. But I've also had the flip side of that, which was really interesting, where the moms were not mature or secure or emotionally intelligent, and there was this jealousy, there was this head button thing going on. Oh, she thinks she's better than me, or whatever. And I'm like, I am a mandated reporter. I am not going to touch your child. I'm not going to do anything. Like, you Google me, bitch. Like for real. So I've had both encounters where I was received with open arms and love, and also with jealousy and indignation. And so because of that, I learned that I need to have boundaries when dealing with guys' kids. I'm not trying to be no one's mom. I have my own, and they're grown, and I'm loving it. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. Now, granted, like, I will, when they're around, I will treat you like my own. But as far as discipline, I'll get the mom voice on you and stuff like that. But you come handle that. That's, come handle that. Because if I'm not about to put my hands or, put somebody in the corner, and now all of a sudden I'm getting cussed out later on that night when the kid goes home, and it's like, oh, Miss T. Right. No, I'm not trying. I don't. No, thank you. So because I don't want those types of dynamics, because of who the mom is and where their mentality lays, I'm hands off. You know what I mean? If I had a better relationship, like I had in past relationships with the mom, it would be different, because there would be a meeting of the minds and an understanding that, like, no, this is what we're doing. And I can call you and be like, what your son just did? What you want me to do about it? Whip his ass, no problem. You know what I mean? Whereas now there's no relationship. And so I have to establish those boundaries for myself. I'm not here to step in to be your mom. I'm, and that's that. And it's actually very freeing. It's a relief as well. You know what I mean? Because I'm hands-on, there's no expectations for me to kind of step in that way, because I have made my boundaries very clear. The other thing I wanted to say was, not all women leave their men. Men leave women all the time. All the time. No, Muhammad did. Muhammad.
No, no, Tip. I mean,
how am I going to be with you if you can't even stick it out with your baby daddy? Well,
Tip. I like to talk. No, but Tip, I like to talk in generalities. Of course, there's going to be outliers and things of that nature, but we're talking about just the nature of how women date. If you look at the dating statistics and divorce statistics, women initiate over 80% of divorces. Lesbian couples have higher divorce rates than gay men. And also, too, women overwhelmingly initiate over 70% of breakups in just dating situations. So, yes, of course,
men get feel comfortable, because men think they can do whatever they want to do and cheat and be disrespectful. And
but no, Tip, the reason why Tip, the main reason, the reason,
and women are like, nah, buddy.
No, Tip, you have to look at the data. No, Tip, look at the data, Tip. The reason why most breakups occur, most divorces occur, is irreconcilable differences. Is women just reporting not being happy anymore? Cheating is not.
That is the easiest thing to put down. I mean,
cheating. Cheating.
I'm divorced too. I put irreconcilable differences down, but believe me, if they really wanted the truth, and I had an Excel spreadsheet to list all of the reasons why, it's just that's the most general reason.
So why lesbian? No, it's just that men tend to stick it together longer. Men, we suffer in silence. Men are just built to just be more loyal, and we stay the course, even when we don't feel like it. Women just leave when they're not happy. So, like,
That's
if
not
you look
true,
at
because
the
women would leave immediately.
Tiff,
We
look at
So
the
wouldn't
why
let
is the
lesbian.
women
divorce for
sticking it
lesbians so
through.
high?
Yeah. So why is the divorce rate for lesbian couples higher, Tiff?
Because women are I'm saying that women initiate I'm not
But
saying
when you
they
don't have a
don't.
man to blame, I'm saying no. But wait,
I'm
when you don't have a
saying
man
that
to blame,
we are more likely, more unhappy, unsatisfied, and unfulfilled in our relationship sooner than a guy is.
Absolutely. Why is that though, Tiff?
We take it longer until I, I'm
Tiff,
not
here's
doing
the
it
thing.
no
How you
more.
taking
Tiff,
longer?
wait,
If
Tiff.
you divorce, if you divorce more, how you taking it longer? Pause.
Well, okay, I'll just give you an example. A guy cheats. I'm just going to throw that, like, just that's not always a breaking point. That's not always like a deal breaker, right? Cheating, right? A woman puts up with it, let's just say 2, 3 times, okay? Let's go to counseling, let's do this, I'll forgive you. They are emotionally healing, physically, spiritually, all of the things, trying to put their relationship back when they're not the ones who stepped out, right? And then the guy, I said multiple times, the guy does it again and then it again. And at some point in time, in between those, let's say the cheating spells, right? There's also disrespect, and maybe the wife is single parenting. They're doing all of the housework, the workload of the kids. Guy works, comes home, kicks his shoes off, doesn't participate in dropping kids off, all this stuff, doesn't fix lunches, he doesn't get the phone call to pick up the kids when they're sick at school, all of these things, right? He can save his sick days, but mom has to use her days to take care of him being sick and the kids being sick. I'm just saying that the bulk of the heavy bad stuff in, like, the work in relationships falls on women. And women get to the point where it's like enough is enough. They literally said men are happier when they're married. They live longer when they're married. You know why?
That's not.
Because they have built-in maids and cooks and moms and nurses and bill payers and accountants and all of those things. And women live
longer when they're married.
They live less because they are more stressed.
Tiff, so let me say this to you. So people, matter of fact, I was reading something. That stat was debunked about men living longer when they're married. And I'll get to the details of that. But let me say this to you. The reason why men are hesitant to go to counseling and therapy is because therapy and counseling is gynocentric. Men feel unheard in those therapy sessions because they're woman-centered. There's a lack of men in these spaces of teaching, counseling, and therapists. So they cater to a woman's emotional needs, and men are unheard. So this is why men are hesitant to go to counselors, because they're gynocentric. They're built around the matriarchal idea, right? Number one. Number two, the difference between how when I speak, I don't say what I think happens. Men are fed up with this, men are fed up with that. I speak to the stats and data. I notice that when you speak, you say things that are you're assuming, because you don't know. You didn't do your own. You didn't take your own data. It's not your literature that you publish. I can only go based upon what's widely published and peer reviewed. I can't say men are tired of this, men are tired of that. That's just me saying what I think. We have to go to the data. The data is women tend to leave relationships sooner. They prioritize their happiness and their emotional satisfaction over doing what they said they would do. Through sickness and health, rich or poor, to death do us part. Not until happiness does us part. It's to death do us part. That's one. And then number two is, just to go back, when a woman steps into a relationship with a single father, I agree. I don't think she should have the right to say she doesn't want to tolerate it either. But the difference is that typically moms maintain most of the custody of the child. So if you're dating a man that's a single father, you're not going to, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be living with that child. Like if a man is dating a single mother, he'll be living with that child. Number two is, if the man's already provided, he's not going to expect you to come in and provide any financial stability to the kid. If you do it, that's because you're nice and you want to do it. So it's like extra credit. Oh, thank you. It's not expected, but I just did it because Tiffany's a sweet person. But the financial protection and provisioning and financial providing, as a man, you're going to be expected to do that. As a woman, you're not going to be expected to do that. Third is that biologically speaking, polygyny is more natural than polyamory. Women have always been okay dating powerful men who had kids with different women. Women are comfortable raising kids together as a sisterhood. That's natural. This whole European construct of one man, one wife, that's a Eurocentric construct. In Africa and our ancestors, it's always have been one man with many different women. So I would argue that it's more natural for a woman to step into the role as a stepmom and be cooperative with other women, right? Because women tend to play more nice amongst each other than men would, because men are more dominant. As a man, you don't want another man coming in telling you what's going to happen with your kid. All right, somebody could die over that. But I think women, their feminine energy, are more, readily able to accept another woman coming in and sharing responsibility as a mom to help with like the whole village raising a kid concept.
I agree with that, but again, it goes back to it has to be the right person.
No, of course. No, I agree with that.
I mean?
I agree with that.
They have to be mature and very secure within themselves to say, I know that you know I'm their mother and you're not trying to take my place. You know what I mean? But if you're together, this is how it's going to work. That's what I was used to until I got a rude awakening. And it was like, oh, okay, these are some, and I think it's also age, right? Because I would say when the good experience that I had with moms, they were more along my age, like late 30s. And at that time, they were career women, they had degrees. And I think that was a level of understanding. Like, I see you, I see who you are, like, enough said. Whereas on the other side, these were younger women under 30, and they see someone like me come into the picture and they feel intimidated and naturally felt insecure. And I think the same thing can go with a guy. You know what I mean? If let's say the father is like a deadbeat dad, in the streets or whatever. And that could be the reason why the mom isn't with him anymore, right? Just immature mentality and whatnot. And then they get with brother O. You're going to intimidate that guy, and he's the father, you know what I mean? And it's just your presence. It's not anything else, but he sees you for who you are and what he isn't. And now he's got a problem with you just based on that, not because of how you treat his daughter or his kids or treat his ex. So that also plays a factor in it as well.
Ty, let me ask you a question, and I have a question for Brother Lighthouse. Tyree, where do you see your relationship going and moving in terms of like the future? Is it like something that you look at like it's fun for now? It's a situation where I'm just gonna go with the flow and see what happens, or is it a situation where it's like you can see yourself having kids with this woman and creating like a blended family? And would you do it again if you know what you know now?
I said if she act right. If she act right, then cool. Yeah, I don't mind. That's really what it is. And if what I would do it again, I would be apprehensive because it is an extra load pause. It's an extra burden you taking on. So I would be apprehensive, but after, like you said, emotion is a weak argument, but after you love somebody, you're like, I'm gonna stick it out. But if she was to do some shit and I'd be like, yeah, I'm out, I probably wouldn't be like looking to go date another single mom. But you know what I mean? In certain situations, you like who you like. I'm not gonna wake up now and be like, you know what? This shit is wrong. Like, no, I'm gonna stick it out. But if you fuck up or you do some shit I don't like, or this shit turned out to be not beneficial for me in a way that's, whatever, then I'm out. Like,
first sign you out. You gone. First sign.
I mean, you just gotta know when to leave. Like, it just, bro. Like, the benefit of it is that you're not really attached to the situation. So if she can't facilitate the relationship between you and the child, it's too difficult. You can.
It wouldn't hurt you. It wouldn't hurt you leaving now.
It would hurt me to leave a regular bit. It would, like, a regular woman.
But you have a double loss though. It's a double loss. It's a loss for your girl, but also
I don't feel that. I don't feel that.
You
I would
put
be
so
like,
much.
That boy cold.
bro, if I do everything good by you and it's still not working out for me, then I did everything I
What
could do.
about the
It's like,
child? Wait, but what about the
Nah,
child though?
fuck
what
that little
about the
nigga.
child? It ain't mine. Like I did what I could do. Like you making it hard for me. Like what? Like yo, it'd be like, bro, it's like this, bro. You like people in the healthcare business, right? When you with the patient, you stay alive while I'm with you. Whatever do, what I'm not, I don't care. Like, bro, I'm here. When I'm here, I'm doing good by you, and whatever. I'm here. I'm gonna invest. I'm gonna do whatever. But I
I
can
know
leave
that
at any
shit.
moment, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
shit would
attached
hurt
to that
me.
situation.
Yeah, I know
But you
myself. That
know
should have hurt me, man. Because if I was investing that
I
much
might,
into
yeah, but it's other shit that hurt me, nigga. I lost my grandmother. There's other things I could think about that hurt me, nigga. Like I'll be alright. Like I'll be alright. Like I'll be alright, nigga.
yo,
Sometimes you gotta take old yellow out in the back and shoot it. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but if it's not, if I'm trying my best to be good to you, and you have a child, and I'm taking on that burden, you make it hard for me, I'm out. And I don't even get to look. And the benefit of this, I don't even look bad for doing it because I didn't even have to do this. So if you want to look at it like that, and I'm sounding like a dick about it, but I'm being
nah,
funny about it. I'm being funny
But Ty,
about
let
it,
me ask
but
you a
it's
question.
real.
Ty, let me ask you a question. So now, think about what I said. Looking at it from like just understanding what type of woman would not. It's either one or two. All right. So either she picked a bad right. She placed her money on a bad bet. The guy was a fucking loser. How do you look at a woman who makes bad reproductive decisions in a way to where is that you can make her your wife? Second is if she did pick a good man but left because of it just didn't work out, would you question her not putting the child first, knowing that a child is raised and will be more a better productive member of society when they have two parents? Like just those from those two perspectives.
The way I look at it, in my generation, because there's a lot of our generation came from single parents and stuff like that, bad parenting, fathers who weren't there. A lot of these girls, we had a whole nother episode about women don't know how to pick men when they're younger. So yes, and this could be excuses, but like a lot of women do make mistakes of not knowing what a good person, a man is when they're younger. And they do make bad reproductive decisions when they're younger. Now, when you talk to that woman, it's up to you to assess, like, okay, is she a woman that learned her lesson, is willing to work on these things? Or you have to assess the woman when you're talking to her. Yes, I understand what you're saying from that perspective. Like, okay, she either can't commit or she's making bad choices. I get it. So it's like, why would I want to deal with somebody like that? I would be like a woman dealing with a man who made bad financial decisions or is in crazy debt or had felonies. You look at the person and then you make a judgment of, do you believe that person learned from their lesson? And you have to make that decision of, you choose to understand. You choose to give that person grace when you hear their story. That's what I would tell you. You have to
Okay.
choose that.
Okay. Brother Lighthouse,
Yes,
what do
sir.
you think about that as far as with knowing what you know now and what you've been through? Would you actually give another woman who has a child a chance at a relationship or potential marriage?
Yeah, if the woman makes me feel good and she's a good person and I really like her and just happens to have one kid, yeah, I don't
He
mind.
said what?
Yeah,
Only
because
one, right? Yeah.
it's like, I had to like kind of figure out what my standard was, and like one child is manageable and they got to be over a certain age. So like around 6 or 8, I think my stepdaughter was like, I call her my stepdaughter still, you know what I'm saying? Because we still cool and stuff. And like, she hits me up, she asks me questions and everything. And around like 8 years old is good because then they're able to communicate. If something is bothering them, they can express that, you know what I'm saying? And like, having that communication is important. And I think that's central to everything that's being said is communication. I was fortunate to have a relationship with a young lady who had a daughter, but she never made me feel like the daughter was my burden. The father was in the picture. They just weren't together, and he had his own relationship and they just co-parented. So like whenever me and her needed to go on vacation, she would call her daughter's father and he would take his daughter. She loved her dad and she loved me too. You know what I'm saying? We were just two different people. She just looks at me like, yo, this is like, you know what I'm saying? Ash, you know what I mean? She called me Ash or whatever. And then like she just was cool. And like she knows that she could get two different types of things. She probably gets something from her father and she gets something different from me. You know what I'm saying? But her mother also told her that when you're in Lighthouse's care, you have to listen to him. And if you don't listen to him, you're going to have to deal with me. So all I had to do, it made it easy for me. I just was watching her whenever she had to go to work or something like that, or if I had to go pick up from school, I'd be like, come on, let's go. She listened. She was a very obedient child, you know. So I was fortunate to have a situation where I didn't have to, you know, deal with the father. Like there was one time where the father was supposed to meet up with us, and he like dropped the ball, and I had to have a conversation with him. Like, listen, when you don't do your part, it falls on me. And I don't want to have an issue with you with something falling on me when I'm doing my own thing. I have a lot of things going on. I'm sure you have things going on. And I don't want us to have a problem because, you know, me and her is together now. So he had respect for that, how I approached him. And we didn't have an issue again. You know what I'm saying? And then the relationship was cool. Like even on her quinceañera when she turned 15, it's like a you know, party, whatever.
Spanish. Oh, yeah. Yo, man, the Spanish girl got you. That's why that Spanish girl got you. Like,
that's not even like, you know, yes, she was Spanish.
Yeah,
but like, you know, he thanked me.
As soon as Lighthouse heard Poppy, it was over. It
was over. Yeah, she was more her. She was more like an Afro Latina. Like she was more like you get the Hispanic side like later on. Like she's more like just a black girl. You know what I'm saying?
Like
but
a Panamanian or some shit. Like,
no, she was Cuban and Cuban and Puerto Rican. But she just was on, you know, some hip hop shit. You know what I'm saying? Cool, stylish. We like the same music and everything. A good young lady. You know what I mean? And he thanked me for you know, help raise his child. You know what I'm saying? I felt that was honorable because there's a lot of people who just won't say nothing to you or feel a way about it, but he always was cool. He was always respectful, and that made the relationship better, you know? So I didn't feel any animosity or any resentment. And then if there ever was any issue, it was always known that, like, listen, this is a choice. I'm choosing to be here. I'm choosing to be with you. I'm choosing to allow you into my house. And if any of this doesn't feel right anymore, we can go our separate ways. And when we eventually did go our separate ways, I asked her, I said, is it cool for me to, you know, occasionally reach out to, you know, my stepdaughter? She was like, y'all relationship is y'all relationship. I'm not going to get involved with that. She got your number. You got her number. That's on y'all. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to talk to her. She's older now. She's like about to be 18 next year. So, you know, I don't be bothering her, nothing like that. But, you know, she hits me up, asks me questions and stuff like about school and what she should do with her career and life and stuff like that. So it's rewarding in that sense. You know what I'm saying? That we have a relationship, you know, even though me and her moms don't even speak like that no more. You know what I mean? So it could be good and it could be bad. But if I had the opportunity again and I really felt it, like it was like, oh, I really like Shorty, I would do it again.
Got you. So if it was a woman that you really thought could be the one, having a kid wouldn't stop the progression of the relationship. Got you. All right. Fair. And you had a sweet deal. I'm sure most brothers don't have it like that. I think your situation is very ideal.
I was very fortunate. Bro. I was very fortunate.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I raise this question not to tell people to do either or, to date single mothers or not date single mothers. I just want you to be smart when you're dating it. But I also want women to think about reproducing with a man that you're not sure about. When you do that, you also hear how men speak, and it's a thing of lessening your chances of being with another man who you may deem fit for the rest of your life. So do you want to take that gamble or not? But, this is your brother O. This is the Guys Podcast. We thank our co-hosts, Muhammad, Tyree, Tiffany, and brother Lighthouse. And we are signing off until next time.
Light, I appreciate you for coming through, bro.
Thank you,
y'all. You definitely got to come back.
Thanks for having me, man. It was a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Y'all. Peace, y'all.
Peace.